So, what's up, everybody? This is Jeff with Thought Academy, along with the co-host,
How's it going? I'm Carlos.
and this is Thought Academy. And was touching on something. What was I? What was I just talking about? Oh, brought to you by our sponsors. No Name Brand Water Bottle Company in stores December 30th. Pick yours up now. Pre-order.
Pick yours up now. Pre-order.
Uh, what was I just talking about, bro?
um,
Yeah.
how about the conversations you can have with yourself now?
Oh, okay. So I think I mentioned it on the last episode of the podcast that I used to restrict myself from having conversations out loud uh, until I was at a certain decade in my life. And what I realized is that I can have those conversations with myself to constantly uh, explore the concept or what things mean to me. Definitions, words, experiences. I can constantly have these discussions with myself to find out what they mean and what they could mean, which brings us to today's topic, fear. And by my own definition, as a noun, uh, fear as a noun is an unfamiliar notion, a person's concept or impression of something yet to be known. Yeah. So, what would your rendition of, you know, fear be? As a noun. As a
As a
noun.
noun?
As a noun.
So, okay, you have I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't know what a noun means.
A noun? A person, place, a thing, brother. Come on now, brother. Person, place, a
All right,
thing. Because
let's
there was
restart this
two
whole episode.
definitions of it. All right.
No,
The
it's
whole
fine,
from
it's fine.
top.
No, I was joking. All right. So you have as a noun, it's an unfamiliar notion, an individual's conception or impression of something known, experienced, or imagined. And then, okay, finger quoted because many cases unknown. Um, I agree.
And then I say as a verb by my own definition, to be tense and uncertain when practicing courage. So that's what fear is as a verb, to be tense and uncertain when practicing courage.
Real quick, guys. Uh, this isn't a structured video. Just want y'all to know this. So enjoy this. You know, it's gonna be a great. We're in for a great ride.
I like winging it, you know.
Because honestly, all we have is not definitions and verbs and nouns for the next. So it's nothing really to
But
follow.
nah. I did have a couple of like
Yeah, you had questions. Yeah.
ideas and questions that I wanted to
Mhm.
ask that you can kind of touch on.
But I love that. I love the courage. Let me see. What is it? To be tense or uncertain when practicing courage, but continually pressing on. Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. I love the verb aspect. If you are in the verb area of fear, that's I would say that's good. You know, you're past the noun step of fear. You know, you're actually trying to take action. You're actually doing, and now you're tense and uncertain. You know, but you're practicing that courage. So I would say it's better to be fear in the noun version, to be experiencing fear in a noun version. I mean, I'm sorry, in the sense of a verb, than than a noun. Depending if you're on the side of fear where you're tense and uncertain and you're gonna die, then I can only wish you was on the noun side. But yeah, I'm gonna cut that out.
Yeah, I like, and like I said, it's by my own definition. I would much rather feel fear than to uh, identify with it as a noun as well, man. Just
As an idea, it being an idea opposed to
Yeah.
actually feeling it. And yeah,
Yeah, feeling it is like I'm the type of person I had just told this to someone the other day. I will definitely spend $20,000 to get my foot into real estate, no matter how much money that is and how scary that can be. But the experience is always worth it to me, and I'm already on the other side of that. Having had that experience. So the fear, like I said, to be tense when practicing courage, to be tense and uncertain when practicing courage, that aligns with how I already feel about the unknown, which is my personal definition of fear is the unknown, basically something yet to be known, which often you know people tend to stay away from because they identify what something is, and after a while it becomes second nature and it makes them comfortable. And a lot of people don't like discomfort. They don't like to be uncomfortable. They don't like to have their core principles or morals challenged. And that might not necessarily be due to fear, but just maybe some type of uncertainty of what exists outside of those morals and values and principles. But Anna, did you have anything to add to that?
I'm right beside you, brother.
But by definition, as a noun, fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. And by definition of fear as a verb is to be afraid of something or someone as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. And yeah, I think a lot of people identify with fear in more ways than one, especially when it comes to their self, their safety. But the one thing they choose to ignore day in and day out is the fear of self from self. Not in the sense of physical harm, but psychological harm. A lot of times we will manipulate ourselves to fit the agenda of a job, the agenda of a group, the agenda of a relationship, the agenda of a family. And sometimes that family, relationship, job, whatever it is built on a bed of lies. So when somebody addresses it, everybody becomes angry and looks at that person that's addressing it. It's like, how dare you point out the obvious? We all know that that's a lie. How dare you do that? You're wrong. And then, they become the target. But it's, sometimes those lies are socially accepted, and it's a fear to talk about that. And I think, yeah, I think a lot of people identify with fear on an interpersonal level.
Hmm. It's when I read these nouns and verbs and stuff, it's so I've always resonated with fear in every sense of it, as a noun and as a verb. Afraid of believing in things, whether it was dangerous or not. I just was afraid to just not necessarily be wrong in a belief, but I wanted to know. I was so curious that I wanted to know what could be the most right, what could be the most true. So I didn't bind myself, or I wasn't bound by anything, but it scared me because I had nothing to grab onto or to hold on to, and I didn't know what. I only had ideas of what the truth may be. If and then verbs, I was afraid of a lot of things, in the verb sense. So, but yeah. So it's just interesting just seeing them put out this way as nouns and as verbs.
Yeah, the
Of course,
separation, right?
yeah, yeah. I never even thought of it as separated like that. Yeah.
I think one thing that kind of gives me an edge emotionally is that I have separated them at a young age, and Therefore, of course, it was, the identification was misinterpreted, but I knew what I felt, but I didn't identify with it as fear because it was like I was going to do it anyways. So I was already in the act while feeling fear, but I always knew like what I was doing um, was what I wanted to do. And I later found out that that was, courageous. So I think that kind of helped me out a lot. But even then, like understanding it, because there's no right way to feel about the definition that you're currently exposed to, or that you're just now being exposed to, which wraps me back to my earlier statement, is that I was restricting myself to conversations to be had with other people for by decade, decade by decade, when I can consistently have these conversations with myself, and that allows me to continuously re-identify with or reestablish or redefine what these words mean to me and what these feelings mean to me. And that's why we broke it down by noun and verb. So versus what they are and then what they feel like to ourselves.
Do you have any questions now in regards to verbs? I mean, verbs. In regards to fear, like, is there anything that you are still uncertain about, or is there any questions you have regarding it, whether it be for yourself or for others?
No, not really. Not really. I think I'm at a you know, uh, you know, I think I'm at a place of peace, man. Earlier in the week, we spoke briefly on the topic of pressure, and I think there's an immense amount of pressure on people today, and that could be in the form of finances, relationship status, or the intricacies of relationships, and social norms and cultures. And I don't have any fear when it comes to exploring those ideas, concepts, or discussions. And and to be honest with you, I don't know. I had asked you what advice would you give the younger you in regards to some of these things.
Yeah. Um, I guess to try and re-answer that without looking back at what I said, um,
I mean, you could read it verbatim. It's so beneficial because of this.
yeah, it. I, so it's. Do I still feel pressure now? Let me just start there. Let me start asking myself questions. Do I still feel pressure now? I don't believe I do. I know that it may come back, of course. But if I begin to feel pressure, then I need to realign. I need to figure out where is it really truly stemming from. And because I know being younger, I felt pressure that I needed to just help get out of a specific place in the world. Or I just felt I need things needed to be done faster. I needed to obtain more. And if I wasn't where I expected myself to be, no one else truly expected anything from me. But if I wasn't there where I imagined I should have been, I felt that pressure, and it was an everyday thing. So that was pressure at a young age. So I would tell myself now is to you know uh just be careful and be healthy, man. Just be careful and be healthy, but start building start building check-ins with yourself. At least that might assist you. Check in every day. Make sure you really flesh out where these pressures are coming from, because at a young age you might not even know where it's rooted, or even if you do, try and really figure out if you're the one applying this pressure on yourself, or if it's truly being placed on you, which often cases it, I can't speak for everyone, but yeah, really try and flesh it out, man. I would give advice to try and you know decompress. I know I mentioned, well, I would have to read it, man, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, I don't really know if I have any advice to give to the younger me. I was very observant mean, I probably would say have a voice sooner, but my idea of respect wasn't what it is today. I've always had a voice, but the idea I had of respect was a little different, and that stopped me from speaking a lot of the times, uh, eh, where I probably could have or should have said something. But then I recall these situations. I don't think there would have been any benefit to myself, and there may have been benefit to others for me to say something like pertaining to having a voice sooner, but there wasn't a benefit for myself, so I didn't speak. Um, but yeah, I don't think I have too many forms of advice to give the younger me when it comes to handling pressure, because I don't know. I want to say because I feel like I'm at a place of peace in my life right now. And well, not necessarily with my life, but I'm at a place of peace with who I am. Because if you look at my life, there's a hole over there. I can't drive those cars. That one isn't even put together. There's relationships that are damaged. There's all kinds of things that are going on, but amongst the chaos, I'm at peace with who I am, and that's why I think I can't, but I can't give my younger self advice. But who knows? That's just my articulation of how I feel right now. Who's to say, within 5 years, I wouldn't have had the same conversation with myself to explore and be able to articulate something that I could give the younger me. But what I would give to other people who still experience immense pressure is to really take your time and know what things mean to you. Check your ego. And if you are in a relationship, know that it's you and that person versus the situation, versus miscommunication, misunderstandings, misrepresentation, rather than you versus the person or the person versus you. And if it is the person versus you, you have to start considering some things that you might be afraid of. So don't be afraid to adopt my definition of fear as a verb. If it's helpful, and be tense and uncertain, but you know, stay courageous. Yeah. So, but wrapping that up, what do you think are some of the differences between how you handled fear then versus now?
It's more of a verb now for me, opposed to mostly nouns. It's yeah, and real quick, uh, I agree with what you said, and I feel that it's um it's in a sense you've given that advice. It's it's less of it's less of your life, less of the world, and more of who you are. And try and find that as no rush, but find who you are and what you are. A little focus a little more on that than the state of the world and your life, because you can't control everything else. So
Anything,
yeah,
anything. Stop trying to. Yeah, yeah. Release the idea that you can control anything. But before you even release it, try to identify what control means to you. And then why that version of control is necessary. Sorry to cut you off, I apologize. Uh, why that version of control is necessary in the first place, and how that contributes to who you are and who you want to be in this world. because ultimately that's the only thing that matters. And when you find out that you have your own individual human experience outside of whatever it is that everything else and everyone else is trying to convince and push onto you, when you find out that you have your own version of that, I think that leads you to peace a lot sooner in life, and that pressure is just alleviated. So sorry to cut you off. I appreciate it.
No, that was beautiful. You chimed in perfectly. Yeah, I have nothing else to add on that, man. That was perfect. Next question was,
I'll re-ask the question.
What are some of the differences between how you handled fear then versus now?
yeah, okay, so yeah, now it's more of a verb for me. Um, I try and focus less on the what I try and focus less on whatever emotion it brings me. You know, the if anything should bring me fear, if I think of the idea, if I think of I focus less on, well, I want it to be I want it to be in a courageous act. I want to be already doing it and going against the fear, opposed to just thinking about it. I spend a lot of time thinking about it. And like we've said in previous podcasts, and we talk about it all the time. You say it a lot. It's, you know, we make things bigger in our own minds. You know, we and it's often not that big, man. It's not that. Yeah. So I do less of that, man, and I do, and I trust myself more. I have that confidence that we spoke of in the last podcast. I have that faith within whatever it is I'm doing or myself, you know, going against that fear, and that faith is a lot stronger, so I can, you know, face the fear with less of that emotion controlling me. So I guess that's how it's different now than when it was before. Before, everything was fear. My existence was just, I was fear. So yeah.
Fear doesn't benefit my health to any degree, and I think my current understanding of it is good enough for me to leave it alone and not explore it, because it just doesn't benefit anything. Literally having fear in your heart, uh it doesn't benefit your existence now and today. Like, I have nothing to fear because of the peace, because of the acceptance of the unknown. I accept it for what I don't know it to be. I don't know what it is, so why should I fear it? If anything, it should spark some type of curiosity to know it, to understand the concept, and to give myself some more information, so that I can utilize that as some sort of tool in my garden. But I don't know. Fear is very strange because it's used to manipulate energy within us, and I think once you redefine that for yourself, you can use it as a tool in your garden.
That's interesting because I like that. Well, at a young age, we taught curiosity killed the cat, and I think it struck something in me to be afraid of. I used to be afraid of everything. Just maybe the last year that kind of started changing, but everything I was curious about, anything I didn't know, the unknown struck fear in me. But I think, like you said, I need to redefine fear, and it's not, the unknown shouldn't strike fear. You know what I mean? I should be curious, and being curious should not, you know, be something I feel pressure with, or I feel, you know, uncertain about experiencing. You know, I should be excited to maybe you know, be curious, and so yeah, I think you're right. I think with maybe a lot of us, well, you know, it doesn't hurt to redefine a lot of things in your life, you know, just to check back in with yourself. You learn a lot of things at a young age and you take it in. And you've once said to me, when speaking on trauma, and this is a gem, guys, we spoke on trauma, and he reminded me that at a young age, you know, you can't fully comprehend, you know, the vastness, is that the word I'm looking for, of the world? The vastness?
As of right now, absolutely, I would agree. It's a big world out there until you experience it, and then it slowly starts to get smaller.
So at a young age, if you, when experiencing trauma, having that inability to comprehend the vastness of the world or the vastness of the experiences, some little things can scar you, you know? So because of the lack of comprehension, um this is your words. So this is reiterated. Um and the same thing with learning things. And this is why, like you said, we need to learn, unlearn, and then learn to learn again. Because we learn things at points of in our lives where we might not be ready to receive. We might not be ready to take that in yet, but we do.
Mhm.
And we possibly miscomprehend things. So with definitions of words that we use as tools to experience the world, I think it shouldn't hurt to redefine things, to check back in with yourself. And this goes back into how to give advice to somebody who lives in fear in whatever sense. So, and it's to check in, to redefine. You've helped me a lot with the idea of redefining things for yourself, knowing what you mean when you think you mean something, or just redefining anything, your ideas of things. So with fear, I've always been afraid. Let me redefine fear. Should I be afraid of the unknown? Should the unknown strike fear in me? And I don't think it should, because that stopped me for so long. So let me redefine what fear means to me, and it will allow me to separate it from things where it shouldn't be attached, that it shouldn't be attached to. So yeah. That's a beautiful thing, bro. And I think me as well. I need to redefine a couple things in my life. Fear being one of them as well.
It's beautifully put, man. It's beautifully put. I don't. I just don't see how it's. I don't see how it's beneficial to somebody who wants to alleviate pressures, wants to do right by others and themselves. More importantly, I just don't see how the concept of fear that we are taught in our youth. I don't see how that's beneficial to us to any degree. And I think even the fear of death itself, it's a part of life, and I think that's why it's so hard to accept. But the thing that makes it unrealistic is media and the way we treat it. We don't talk about it often enough. We don't talk about it during life. We don't talk about it while it's happening. We kind of just shove it down, and the lack of conversation keeps the fear of death itself in us. But we all know that it's going to happen. We don't believe that we have an infinite amount of time here. None of us really believe in immortality. But the fact that uh, media continues to treat this topic in such a way, it influences us to treat it a certain way. And unfortunately, we never define what it is, not only fear, but other concepts and definitions. We never redefine what these things mean to us, or what they should mean to our relationship, or what they should mean to our job, to our families, to our bloodline, to us as an existence. And unfortunately, my mind used to take me to like uh it used to take me to what has the world done all the time. There's never been a humanitarian effort to unionize and do one singular thing. There's never been that. And why is that? That's always been on my mind. And when I stopped asking myself that question, it allowed me to dial in into how I choose to experience what it is to be human. And that question just no longer benefits my health. I can't argue with the hearts of men. I can't argue with feelings, because the hearts of men can be valid, feelings can be valid, it just doesn't matter. But the one thing I will argue with is the fact that people should find out what things mean to themselves rather than what they are told these things mean. And then once you do that, try to do your due diligence if you are conveying your information and what you choose to believe is your truth, try to understand how you can convey that information to someone else who will have a separate idea and understanding of what it is you wish to convey. That way you can validate your feelings and emotions, but you're not trying to persuade other people that your feelings and emotions are fact. You're trying to convey to them that this is what you feel, how you feel, and why you feel it, and that's it. And I think a lot of times we haven't even put in the work to get that far, man. But I respect that, we're able to have the conversation in the simplest of form. Let's define what things, as ridiculous as it may sound, what is structure? What's self-awareness? What's confidence? What's fear? The fact that we can have these conversations and get so deep with it, man, I'm grateful because it's not what's talked about on social media. It's not normal, but these are very beneficial questions to ask. Not only to yourself, but to all of your relationships. Why is XYZ healthy? Not to go on a rant here, man, but I really do appreciate you for having me on here and just having these type of conversations, dude. It's amazing.
Likewise, brother. It's a blessing, man. It's an honor, and I appreciate every moment of it. And yeah, I agree, man. I appreciate I appreciate the fact that we can have these, we can define these things. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful to be able to give our own definitions of something and then explore that throughout the episode, and then give what we believe to be advice to not, whether it be someone else, to ourselves, so we can hear that, or whether you need to hear it or I need to hear it, whatever the case is, just to be able to hear your definition, your version, your interpretation of things, and then how it's just beautiful, man. And I think we're gods amongst men.
Our feet don't even touch the ground, Oh man, I really do appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. And the one thing I want is for other people to draw inspiration to challenge themselves, and to ask themselves these questions and to redefine what things mean to them, and in the hopes that they may find a similar piece or a better piece, a piece that fits their human experience and something that they can identify with and understand and be able to articulate and express to other people. So man, I appreciate you. Anywho, wrapping it up, thanks for our sponsors. No Name Brand Water Bottle Company, in stores December 30th. Pick yours up today or pre-order.
You got the option to pre-order, even though you can pick it up today. It's up to you.
That's just the world. Hey, I didn't say it wasn't confusing. It just is, all right? How dare you question how confusing it is? It is socially accepted that it's a confusing notion, okay? How dare you point out the obvious?
I'm just reiterating that we allow people the privilege to pre-order it or get it now. We're allowing you a privilege.